guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, I'm finally back with an update on Delphi. Yes, there have been plenty of updates, and I haven't covered a lot because all these other cases I've been covering, there's just so much going on. And I'm always for the victims, so my number one is always for Abby and Livy, these two beautiful girls on the screen, which is really what we're all for, I think, out here. Today's update has to do with some motions that Richard Allen, along with his defense team, has filed in the case. Alright, and this is my favorite local news source for Delphi updates, Fox 59 out of Indiana. Now, this was posted this morning, but it was updated a little after lunchtime, it looks like. Richard Allen files motion to allow broadcast cameras in the courtroom of Delphi murders court proceedings. So again, when I saw this headline, I thought, wow, he wants cameras in the courtroom. Complete opposite of Kohlberger, who they want nothing to do with cameras in the courtroom, at least at this point. Obviously, they cover, who Richard Allen is, that he's the suspect and defendant in the 2017 Delphi murders case, and that he's filed a motion to authorize the public broadcasting of future proceedings in the courtroom. The filing on Wednesday said that Richard M. Allen understood Rule 2.17 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct, which generally would prohibit broadcasting, televising, recording, or photographs in the courtroom. Yeah, they're not too keen on it in Indiana, as far as I've come to understand. But this is good news in my opinion. But let's continue getting through this here. However, the defense cited the recent amendment of the rule that would allow the judge's discretion to authorize the broadcasting of legal proceedings in their courtroom. The rule took effect in May 2023, which would permit broadcasting as long as the means of recordings wouldn't distract participants or impair the dignity of the proceedings. Now, Allen and his team added that the facts and circumstances around the Delphi investigation have reached national public attention. You think? They said the system of jurisprudence will be scrutinized in a manner that is unusual and rare in Indiana courts. Yeah, this is quite a huge case. So I think Richard Allen and his team kind of want to make sure it's just clear and transparent what's going on. In a recent pilot program, Special Judge Fran Gull also took part in. Feedback was provided from judges and professionals about the public trust in the judicial system. Wednesday's filing detailed some of the feedback from that spring 2022 program. The judicial branch is at least understood branch of the government, and here you've got millions of Hoosiers counting on it for justice every year in Indiana, said Indiana Chief Justice Rush. So why not pull the curtains out and say, okay, this is what we are doing, and this is why we are doing it. The sky's not going to fall since there are safeguards in place. The defense ends the filing by stating that the justice system and the general public will benefit from the broadcast of the pretrial hearings and any trial that may happen in this case for the following reasons. Okay, this is their summary of why they think that we're going to benefit. Of course, like I said, I'm all for it. I have a huge support of cameras in the courtroom, and I do agree they shouldn't be a hindrance to the process. They can be done I don't know, discreetly is the word, but they could be done respectfully, I think, for the attorneys, for the judge, jurors, and witnesses, and what have you. A high level of viewership will offer up the opportunity for constructive feedback at the conclusion of the case. The sitting judge in the case participated in the Cameras in the Courtroom pilot program and communicated her positive experiences. Carroll County Circuit Court has an unusually large courtroom, offering adequate space to allow for the broadcasting team to work in an unobstructed manner. Law enforcement routinely sought out the help of the public through press conferences, and allowing the public to observe will build trust of the public moving forward. Time passed since the alleged crime has resulted in the aging of trial witnesses, so the defense anticipates very few minors, if any, who will testify in the case. Family members of the victims have voluntarily taken to social media and other media outlets, participating in coverage of the investigation over the past 6 years. Many witnesses anticipated will be law enforcement and experts who are generally comfortable in courtroom proceedings. And many of the circumstances of the case were kept confidential, and the order on confidentiality in the courtroom has been lifted. So I think this is really great news. Looks like the article just goes on to say Allen is charged with 2 counts of murder in the case of the February 2017 murders of Libby German and Abby Williams. He was formally charged in the case after his arrest back in October of 2022. Looks like the jury trial is still scheduled for January 8th, 2024 at 9 a.m. My thoughts on this are, I am actually thrilled that the defense wants this to be clear and transparent. Like I said, up until this pilot program, Indiana is just, we've been all told that they're not going to have these cameras in the courtroom. But Judge Gull seems to be changing her thinking on this, and I really hope that it can be done. And like I said, as long as it can be done, where it doesn't impact the proceedings, which we have seen that done very, very well. There's been, we had the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, which was, good quality cameras. We've had the Letitia Stouch trial, which those were lesser quality, as well as some others. But as far as I'm concerned, I think that a court proceeding with such national and international, really, interest like this case, it can definitely benefit from having social media have access to it. And as we all know, anytime they need to make something secret, confidential, they need to do whatever their sidebars are, there's plenty of options for the judge and attorneys and what have you, and cameras are never going to be facing the jurors, so I don't think that's a problem at all. But this definitely gives me hope that we're all going to get to see this trial happen live, since most of us cannot make it to Carroll County, to Delphi, in January for it. And hopefully the next proceedings will not just be recorded and then aired shortly thereafter on a feed. And the other motion that was just filed is actually an amended motion. It's amended motion to suppress the fruits of search of 1967 North Whiteman Drive in Delphi, Indiana. Comes now the accused, Richard Allen, by and through counsel, and pursuant to the 4th and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 11 of the Constitution of the State of Indiana, moves to suppress all evidence obtained by the defective search warrant that was issued without probable cause. In the support of said motion, the defendant Allen states as follows. 1. Defendant Richard Allen has been charged with 2 counts of felony murder. 2. On October 13th, 2022, law enforcement officials entered and searched defendant Allen's home pursuant to a search warrant, a copy of which is marked as Exhibit A, attached and hereby incorporated by reference. 3. On October 28th, 2022, as a direct result of 1 firearm recovered from defendant Allen's home, the state of Indiana filed an information alleging defendant Allen committed 2 counts of felony murder. On the same day, the court found probable cause for the defendant Allen's arrest. 4. The search of defendant Allen's home was unconstitutional for the following reasons. A. The issuance of the search warrant was a result of an improper ex parte application for the search warrant, in that the officiant Sheriff Tony Liggett failed to advise the issuing judge of material facts and made false and misleading representations with a reckless disregard for the truth. Without these false and misleading representations and omissions, a search warrant would not have been issued. B. The state's probable cause affidavit failed to establish probable cause that a crime had been committed, and evidence of the crime would be found in defendant Allen's home, thereby causing the resulting search to violate the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution. C. The officers in obtaining and executing the warrant exceeded the scope of the warrant and the authority vested in the officers through the warrant, thereby violating the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution. 5. The affidavit submitted in support of the search warrant failed to establish that the items to be seized were in the residence or could be expected to be in the residence at the time of the search. 6. The affidavit submitted in support of the search warrant failed to provide particular information that particular items related to the particular crime would be found in defendant Allen's home, but rather provided generic information concerning generic items that could be found in the defendant Allen's home or any other home potentially in Indiana. 7. The affidavit submitted in support of the search warrant failed to connect the generic items for which it was seeking to the actual items that were possibly used in the crime for which he is now charged. And 8. Under the totality of the circumstances, the search of defendant Allen's home pursuant to the search warrant was unreasonably and thus violated Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution and the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. And it's signed by both of Richard Allen's lawyers, Bradley Rossi and Andrew J. Baldwin. So I'm going to have to pull that back out, but I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that it was very generic? I definitely need to do a refresher on that particular document as far as that's concerned, but I feel like it was pretty... usually, from what I've seen, search warrants list anything inside of a residence, outside of a residence. If there's like a shed, it'll specify vehicles as far as that's concerned. I don't know if it needs to be that specific. Again, I'm not a lawyer or a paralegal, and it's always a consideration, but yeah, don't have the degrees and all that. But I feel like they kind of covered their bases on that. But again, I'm not 100% sure. So it's definitely something I'm going to be looking more into. And I'm curious to see what happens on that and see what Judge Francis Gull rules on that particular motion. So looks like we kind of had two motions. The first one we went through with the Fox 59 article where he wants the cameras in the courtroom. That one I applaud. This particular motion, I am, like, what? So, again, defense attorneys, though, as we know, all of us that follow a lot of these true crime cases and what have you, they will constantly, file motions. They'll file amended motions. They'll try to get cases dismissed. They'll try to get evidence thrown out. So they wouldn't be doing their jobs if that wasn't the case. So his team is doing their jobs, and irregardless of what we think or believe, if Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, okay, he deserves a trial, and until he is proven guilty in court, he's innocent. So, and the same thing is all these other, we have all these kind of other alleged murderers, other monsters out there. Heck, we've got Adam Montgomery, which I'm definitely much more sure of than Richard Allen. But at the same time, Richard Allen just never came up to anyone. And we've had all these POIs for all this time, so that it was much more apparent in some cases than others who the actual possible murderers are. So, I mean, I think in this case, you still have some questions to be answered. But that's going to be up to the jurors. And obviously, Judge Gull, she needs to make sure that he does get a fair trial. And the state's job is to prove that he's the right guy, that we got the right guy sitting behind bars, and that he's the one that attacked and murdered Abby and Libby. But let me know what you guys think of all these new motions. Again, I know I haven't been covering Delphi too much lately. There's been so much going on, and I know I'm definitely not the first to cover any of the Delphi news drops. So, but as you guys know, this is still a case that I'm going to be following right up till the end. So I'm always going to be covering it. Just might not be the first to hit some of the news updates and what have you. But I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and most of all, stay safe.